Hello, good morning. This is 𝗟𝗘𝗧 from MassMailer. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Today I'm going to talk about how to set up MassMailer in a sandbox environment. Many customers keep asking this question, and it's very important to make sure that you understand the basic setup that is necessary for sandbox environment. First of all, why do you need a sandbox plan? And again, if you're not familiar with Sandbox, it's a little technical. You all know that you have Salesforce CRM, the production environment where you actually do your daily activities. But the Sandbox plan or the Sandbox environment for Salesforce CRM is typically meant for the release cycles and for any kind of customization, development, whatnot. And then you do all the testing and everything for the custom work that you've done, and then eventually go to the release cycle, testing cycle, and migrate to production. So typically the sandbox is used by your admins and developers and those kind of people. So why would you need MassMailer sandbox plan? Sometimes you may need to do some custom work on top of Salesforce or MassMailer. Also, MassMailer does have release, like major releases, and which means you will have to upgrade manually twice a year. Also, sometimes you may need to do some rigorous testing and also go through the release cycles and upgrade. So many reasons why you would want the sandbox plan. And again, why can't you use the same, what does it mean, like MassMailer sandbox plan? It means that you actually get a brand new SendGrid account. And you all know that MassMailer sends out email using SendGrid behind the scenes. So in production, if you go to MassMailer setup and log in, you would actually see the SendGrid credentials there. Similarly, we also provide a brand new SendGrid account for Sandbox because you should not be using the same production level SendGrid account in your Sandbox. You have to get a brand new SendGrid account from MassMailer if at all you're planning to use MassMailer in a sandbox environment. And how much does it cost? It costs $50 per month. That's a flat fee for the sandbox plan. What do you get with that? You get a brand new SendGrid account, and also you would that particular account, the SendGrid account, will have 10K emails per month limit. And we also associate that with the same IP address, and we send you the DNS values. So you want to make sure that you basically authenticate yourself, even in the SendGrid account for the sandbox, and it's in a working condition. Most of the times we'll help you to set up your sandbox if you're not aware. But this webinar would actually help you to do the settings on your own, because every now and then you may need to change the sandbox environment, but your SendGrid credentials for sandbox would remain the same once you obtain it from MassMailer. That's the reason why you want to go through this webinar, so that you can do this yourself. Your admins or developers can do this themselves. So basically, you will get a SendGrid username and the API key for sandbox purposes. And as I mentioned, you should never use the production level SendGrid credentials in Sandbox. Please remember that. So once you get the credentials from us, you will have to go to MassMailer setup, account settings, login, and then you have to update your credentials there. And I'll show you how to do this so that you don't have to really worry too much about it. So basically, you got to set up the login credentials, and then tracking settings is a must. You have to do some setup and tracking settings that is related to the event notification URL. And I'll just tell you why. So if you are familiar with the way MassMailer works, we use SendGrid behind the scenes to send out emails. And at the same time, SendGrid would actually send us back the email event notifications, such as open, click, and everything, back to Salesforce. And that is done via event notification URL, which is unique for each Salesforce instance. So the production level event notification URL would be different from Sandbox event notification URL. That is the reason why you have to manually go edit the site URL in the Sandbox environment, and you also have to update the same thing back in SendGrid credentials, SendGrid account that you receive for the Sandbox. And again, this is going to be a manual settings, so you will have to kind of figure out how to do this. And again, I'll go through the steps here. And also, you will have to update the subscription tracking settings and the email preference groups, if at all you have any. That is, again, important that you have to take care on this tracking setting setup step. And I'll show you anyways how to do this. And finally, once you're done with these steps, you just have to go to the finish button and then click on finish. So it is just going to MassMailer setup, finish, and then click on the finish button. So this is just nothing, you just have to click on a button. So it's mainly the credentials you will have to change in production, Sandbox. And also you have to change the tracking settings. That is very important. And then finally just finish. So these are the three main things that you have to do. And after which you're good to go. And your Sandbox should be ready. Okay. I didn't talk about the DNS values because this is pretty much done offline. So whenever we're going to give you the Sandbox credentials, we also will send you the DNS values. You will have to work with your IT team to make sure those DNS values are set up. But today, my intention is to just show you how to successfully set up the Sandbox environment for MassMailer within Salesforce. Okay. Okay, so let's say this is your Sandbox environment. And again, how do you log into Sandbox? I leave that to you. Your Salesforce admin will let you know what credentials and how to log in and whatnot. And again, if you're a developer and admin, I'm sure you would know how to log into Sandbox environment. So once you log in, you go to MassMailer app through the app launcher, and then go to the MassMailer setup. So this is where you will have to update your credentials. So right now, this one is having the production level credentials. So typically, whenever we provide you the Sandbox Sandbox SendGrid credentials, the username will have the suffix Sandbox in it. So for an example, it'll be something like this. Yeah, the username and the email address again would be the same typically. So you just have to, like, we're going to provide you, if at all email address is different, or any case, we're going to provide you the username, email address, and the API key. So I just copy pasted the username, and the email address is the same. So I'm going to skip that. And the API key is different. So I'll copy that. Whatever the API key that you already have there, just remove that, and then copy paste the new API key that we provide. So you basically have to enter the username, the email address, and the new API key. Once you're done with that, click on the Save button. So that basically would set up the Sandbox credentials of SendGrid in MassMailer. So once you're done, make sure you go to the next step. So here you can actually just refresh the page just to get your usage and subscription details. It'll refresh whatever it is. And then you basically have to just go through the settings that I mentioned earlier, which is tracking settings. So once you're done with the login, straight away go to the tracking setting. That's fine. And here I'll show you what is different. So if you notice this, the email event notification URL, this came from production. Whenever you created a Sandbox, it just like gets the copy from production, whatever you have. But this URL is different from what you have for Sandbox. So if you notice this, This is the sandbox URL, and you can clearly see that it is different from the production environment. We don't do that automatic, so you have to manually do the settings. So how do you find out what is a new event notification URL? So here you got this MassMailer thing, and you just have to go to sites. How do you go there? So you go to Salesforce Setup, and then I'll just show you once again. So you go to Salesforce Setup, and then you type in sites in that you'll find. So type sites, save it. And then here you will find MassMailer site. Make sure you click on the right one. It's called MassMailer site. So click on the site label. So make sure you click on the right one. Once you have the actual site that is opened for MassMailer site, you will find the URL there. So I'm actually going to go copy paste this. So this is the URL. You have to copy this URL, and that would be your new. And I'm going to add MassMailer to this because that's what you would see here. So you basically will have to go back here, edit, and then you can just replace this part if you don't want to replace everything else. So I'm just replacing that so that everything else is the same. So this is what you would actually get from your sandbox environment. You got to make sure that you click on the save button. So that's the step that you have to do. So this is the URL that you get for the for Salesforce side. But this is just a partial URL. Now, there is one more step that is pending, that is necessary in SendGrid. I'm actually going to go. So this is the URL, right? So in SendGrid, you still have to set this URL as webhook. It's called webhook in SendGrid. So again, don't get confused. The SendGrid account that we're going to provide to you, the sandbox environment, you can actually log in by going to, and I'll just show it to you in an incognito window. So you basically go to sendgrid.com if it's easy, and then you would find the sign in, click on that, and then you actually have to log in from here. So the SendGrid credential that we provided to you, we don't give you the password because that's something that you can actually change. You could just say, forgot your password and whatever the username that is given. For example, if it was Siva at massmailer.io.sandbox, and then reset the password so that you get to know what the password is. And if it says that you need to enable two-factor authentication, just do that, that's fine. So basically, you have a direct access to your sandbox environment. So you will have your own password, which is secure, and you know the username, and API key is already given to you. And if at all you ever have to change the API key, I'm happy to show you that, how to do that in SendGrid. So basically, you log into your sandbox environment, the sandbox SendGrid account. So basically, something like this, yeah? So once you log in, again, the login page is right there. You enter the username and password. Once you reset the password, log in. And what is next? Once you log in to your SendGrid account, you basically would have to go to settings. So remember, so once you log in, there is settings, and then click on the mail settings. So you see the mail settings there, and you have to click on this event webhook. This is what you have to enable. By default, it will be disabled whenever you get a brand new sandbox, so you have to do this manually. Again, there's no automated way, unfortunately. If it were production, this is all done automatic, but in sandbox, due to certain technical reasons, you have to do this manually. So you have to enable this as well. Make sure this is enabled. Now we just have to copy paste the URL. Again, there's a little bit of extra work that is needed here. So I'm gonna explain. So make sure that you check all these boxes, deliverability data, engagement data, because we want all of this. Now, remember the URL that we got. So you got to copy that and then paste it there. Just a moment. So for a moment, I'm going to pick this. I just needed this for some extra suffix. So I'm going to update the presentation. As you can see, to this, we already have this. So you basically have to form your own URL for SendGrid. So it'll be something like this. And again, I'll update the presentation so that you don't have to worry about all of this. So basically, this is the URL that you have to enter in Sandbox. This services, Apex REST, Cloud Drop, Webhook Listener, that needs to be added. So that would be your URL. So notice that this is still the Sandbox URL that I gave to you earlier. And then we just added the webhook URL here, which is nothing but the URL for a component that we developed in MassMailer that is hosted in Salesforce. So this is basically the URL for the entire component, a listener component in Salesforce. So this is how the integration works between SendGrid and Salesforce. Again, there's no automated way. Unfortunately, you have to do this manually. Due to certain technical reasons. Again, I don't want to get into the details, but just make sure that you do this and then save, click on the save button. So event webhook is configured in SendGrid. So if I take you back here, we have the URL. You notice that that webhook listener thing is not there. You don't have to have that in Salesforce, but in SendGrid, you need to have that. So that's a manual step. You got to form that URL. So once this is done, rest is pretty easy. So all you have to do is enable your subscription tracking. Make sure you enable that if you're going to have the subscription tracking always, because this is again not enabled by default. And then click on the save button. So that's important. So you save that. And also actually, yeah, so that's what you have to do. And then if you're going to have the email preference groups, like if you have email preference groups in production, you would want to also add that in Sandbox. So you can click on the sync unsubscribe groups that will basically sync up if at all you have any unsubscribe groups that are already created. So click on that. That'll help you to create them. And if it did not, you can manually create that as well. That step, I leave it to you, how depending on how you configured. So that's it. That's what you need to do in this tracking settings. So once again, I'll just go to this, summarize. So you got to change the URL here, pick the right URL from sites, MassMailer site, and then copy paste that, save this, change this in SendGrid by adding that additional component URL there, which is the webhook URL. And then make sure that you enable your subscription tracking and save it. And then click on the sync unsubscribe groups, provided you have some unsubscribe groups that you're using. Sometimes you may need to do it manual, again, similar to what you have in production. So just check it out. Once this is done, then all you have to do is go to finish and then click on this finish button. And that's it, you're good to go. So that's pretty much it. It's not that hard. You just have to kind of remember all the steps that I just gone through. And then finally just click this finish button. And it'll take a few minutes to do the final configuration, and you will receive an email once everything has been done, and you're good to go. Any questions, anyone? Okay, all right. So it seems like no questions. So I just want to add one more thing, just in case if at all you ever have to reset your API key for your Sandbox. How do you do that? the easiest way, again, you log into your SendGrid account for Sandbox, go to API keys, and then you delete what you have here. I'm not deleting right now. So you delete what you have, and you can create a brand new by clicking on this create, give a name, something like this, MassMailer. Make sure you give the full access and then create, and then you can copy the API key what SendGrid provides. And then that API can be used in the login credential. So this is just in case if you needed to create or reset the API key, this is how you would do it. Okay? So just cancel, and then that's it. You go back there. So that's the final step, which I did not include in the presentation because it's not necessary. This is only if needed. All right. So that's it. Pretty much we're done with everything, and you're good to go. And again, if you have any additional questions, here is our contact information. Just feel free to send us an email. I've given the phone number as well, my direct email, and also company email address. And this is a weekly webinar. We do it every Thursday at 6 a.m. Hawaii time. You can watch all our videos in our YouTube channel. And also, you can find out the upcoming webinar by going to our website, our social channels, or if you're in the email list. And if you're new to MassMailer, just go to our website and click on the install button, or you can go to massmailer.io/install and click on the free trial. We are happy to set up the free trial for you. We can also do a walkthrough, help you set up MassMailer. Any questions you have, feel free to reach us out. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Have a good day, have a good evening, have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.